Okay, we're back, and today we have Alexa with Converse Insurance with us. Alexa, I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm Alexa Hawthorne, born and raised in Texas. I got into insurance. I know.
Native.
Wild.
Man, everybody listening is going to just love it. Every native here is going to be bonded immediately.
Wait, are you a Cowboys fan? Oh, no.
Answer carefully.
You know what? We won't go
When
there.
they win. When they win.
I can get on board with that, yeah.
Okay.
Fair weather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's painful.
No, I used to be a big Miles Austin. I had the jersey.
Oh,
It was
cute.
but I think he's long gone now.
She's lost track.
As they do.
Miles.
As they do.
Yeah.
Okay, how long have you been in insurance?
So about 5 years, came straight out of college, really had it kind of as a back pocket option, thinking I was not going to be in insurance, but God had different plans. So hopped on board, hit the ground running, and been in it since. Since then, I have now become COO at Converse.
Ooh.
What is COO?
Crazy. Chief Operating Officer.
Okay.
Could have taken that so many different directions. Yeah.
Yes. So still selling, still managing my current book of business and serving my current clients while also wearing a few more hats. So
more
I'm
hats.
excited. Yes.
Amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's
Yeah,
big.
and I just want to say you saved me personally $3,000 a year on my homeowner's insurance. I reached out to Alexa. I didn't know what I didn't know. I was with a big insurance company that wasn't really checking even what coverage I had or anything. And you were like, hey, send over your info. Let me take a look at it and see if I can help you out. And I mean, $3,000 is significant. That's a significant amount of money.
It's like $250 a month.
I mean,
That's
yeah.
my whole spending budget.
Look,
Right?
Like, let's go.
You can do a lot.
All
with
because of
$3,000.
Alexa.
You can do
You
a lot
can
with
go like
$3,000.
all out at HEB now.
Oh, HEB.
HEB.
We don't even. Yes, I
It
mean,
is.
yeah.
It is grand.
fantastic.
Central Market, I think, is the luxury brand of HEB, and I just can get lost.
Yeah, it's the same stuff. It's just
Especially in
so
the bin
easy.
section, all the chocolates. It's- yeah.
Yeah, and then Shelby, didn't you have a similar?
Yeah, I have lots of great stories with Alexa, actually, because I've called her many times with some of our plumbing issues. But to begin with, when we were getting in our new house, we had to crunch numbers. They had to be perfect. We were really stretching to get into this house. And Betty introduced me. I called her. I felt like she was my best friend, and she was in the race with me. And within a few hours, we had the exact numbers that we needed. And so that was just such a blessing. And I was so excited. I didn't even know someone out there like you existed that could help me, because I was like, I don't know. And then I sent you to my mom a couple months ago, and you saved her I think $2,000. And God bless, my mom is 74, doesn't know what she doesn't know. And so she's like, oh yeah, that's great. And I'm like, okay. But
amazing.
it's just your presence in our life has been a blessing. So we're here to help others see the value of you and people that are in your industry and what they're doing to help us with home and auto, because it is expensive.
It's expensive.
And there's a lot to know.
Well, and the whole process is so much that a lot of times insurance can easily be put on the back burner as just like another checkbox.
Yeah.
And it's like it really makes or break you being able to buy a house. It makes or breaks when a catastrophic event happens, and then who you have educating you to know what you're paying for, to know what's covered. It's really important. I mean, especially now more than ever, I would say.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's so important. It's interesting with my clients. By the way, all my clients love you. They're just like, Alexa's the best. She's so fun. And you're so kind and you're very, very responsive. But it's a huge part of the purchase. Your insurance, taxes, principal and interest is part of your monthly payment. And so a lot of times a lender will qualify you and they're just guessing on an insurance amount. They're like, oh, we're going to put this ballpark amount for insurance. And then you can come in and actually make a significant difference in that monthly payment, which, like you said, can make or break someone. Yeah.
Especially, and nothing on lenders, but they don't have a way to know the price points and to gauge that. And then with all the changes that have been happening in the insurance industry, 5-6 years ago might have not been as big of a deal. Like that guesstimate was fine.
Right.
Now a guesstimate.
Different
that is,
story.
It's not fine.
Yeah,
it's not fine.
It's
anymore.
not what it really is. Yeah, it is not. So, very important to be proactive as a home buyer. And luckily, if they're working with you guys as real estate agents, I mean, you guys have their ducks in a row. So,
Yeah, we try.
We do our best.
We try, absolutely. Well, we have a couple questions for you that we want to kind of dive in. I know
have them
that you get
listed
asked
here,
a lot
so
of
I remembered
questions
them.
with clients coming to you with different kind of, hey, just the normal questions that people ask you. But we've got a couple that we wanted to dive in and get really specific for helping other people. So
Yeah. And this is in no specific order, just great questions that we all have. So first is, why is my rate going up with no claims? I felt this pain. I felt this
It's
pain
painful.
this year.
as did I. So
painful.
just so everyone's clear, an insurance agent does not get special privileges or any discounts. My auto went up $1,000. My homeowners went up $2,500 from what it was previous year. So that is $35 extra $100 out of my pocket. I could not find myself something cheaper. So fun fact, insurance carriers are all backed by what is called a reinsurance. This is something that they buy into. It helps with their profitability margins, really, so they don't go bankrupt. When COVID hit, I hate that we're still talking about COVID, but when COVID hit, you had cost of labor go up, and then supply chain shortage issues. Shortage in supplies causes the price to increase. So that alone is going, if you look at how much a roof cost or whatever pre-COVID, it's
Everything
about
went
half the price of what it is
absolutely.
now. So that alone has doubled. Then you have your natural disasters that insurance companies are paying out on. So wildfires in California, we had our Texas ice storms, hurricanes. I know. And these are new. Like Texas,
We were
didn't
all
have these types of
traumatized.
storms
No, it was
until
horrible.
more recently.
2021, the
Even-
Snowmageddon, I was...
Even this past
Yeah.
week, though, I feel like everybody was prepping. Like
have
the
PTSD.
end was
Oh, my
near.
water is still dripping. Like, ridiculous.
My water's
Yeah.
71 outside.
I know, but I'm just a little nervous.
Understandable.
Because
sure.
my hot water heater froze last year, and
Oh.
it was bad.
I'm sorry.
I
sorry.
had to sit downstairs with the heater while my husband got to go live with my parents for the week.
Oh.
Right?
I had
They
a
were
pipe.
like, you should have prepped. So I had to go sit down there with it in the heater and like check on it. And I was like, this does
dear.
not add up.
I had a pipe burst in my property. It flooded. It was a whole thing.
You had
It
the
was-
best neighbors, though.
Oh, my neighbors were fantastic.
So
It
you
was-
have things like that.
Yeah.
You then have most recent is the fire in Hawaii, which is just awful. But
So does that affect nationally then, even though it's just happening in Hawaii?
Correct.
Yeah.
Interesting.
because your carrier
Are national.
is typically nationwide.
Right.
So either carriers are pulling out of states, they're suspending business in new states, but their overall overhead for claims is just outrageous. So reinsurance increased their rates a couple years ago. Carriers chose, and they increased their rates on the carriers. Carriers tried to not increase their rates on consumers like you and I.
Okay.
But they got to a point where obviously they didn't have a choice. So we've seen these drastic jumps over the past, I would say, 10 months or so, probably since last March of 23. But we are starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So
Does that mean they potentially go back down, or have we hit like a new baseline?
more of a new baseline.
Okay.
Stabilized market, right?
Okay.
So this hasn't happened since the mold crisis in the 90s. So the chances of something this extreme happening again is going to ideally be a long time. And it's not as bad as it was in the 90s, surprisingly. But that's kind of the reason of why rates are going up, whether you have a perfect record or you do have claims. If you have claims, it's worse. But the average increase in Texas right now is 55% on renewals.
Yeah.
And I know you said a lot of that was national, but is there anything specific to Texas that's driving it in Texas?
Wind and hail.
Wind and hail.
We got plenty of that.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, and that's interesting too because, there's always windstorms and hailstorms in Texas. And so as a real estate agent, I'm always telling people we're not too worried about your roof because typically a roof claim gets filed and seller, like let's say you're going to purchase a home, the roof is shot, it's not insurable. the seller will typically file a claim, put on a new roof. And it used to be a lot more simple of a process where it was like, oh yeah, no problem, we'll get a new roof put on for you. And now what I'm seeing is a lot of insurance companies denying those claims, and it's creating a big problem on the purchase end for real estate, because it's like, we need this new roof, but they're not gonna, who's gonna pay for that? And I think
probably
just
time frames,
Yeah.
how slow they're moving.
yeah, absolutely.
Pretty much every carrier is going to a minimum 2% wind and hail deductible compared to a 1%. And that percent
What's the
your,
difference?
so that percent comes from your dwelling coverage. So if you have a house that is covered at $500,000 to rebuild, your 1% deductible is $5,000. If it's at 2%, you're $10,000 out of pocket.
Okay, got you.
So most are going to that 2% option. There's also a handful of carriers that once the roof becomes 5 years old, they put it at actual cash value, meaning you pay your deductible and then insurance is only going to pay a portion of the replacement and you have to come up with the rest. So you as the buyer or the homeowner ends up paying majority.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
No,
and so
I'm already
everyone's
paying
like, but I
into
have
insurance."
30-year shingles and this
Yeah.
and that. And I'm like,
They don't last 30 years in Texas.
Yeah.
Not with our hail. No.
that's in the showroom.
Oh, goodness.
So
Yeah.
My gosh.
it's crazy. I mean, it's wild to think about, the responsibilities you gain as a homeowner, but obviously it's very well worth it,
Yeah, the reward
So-
is 100%.
Oh, yeah.
100% worth it.
Especially for me, and why I'm so excited about conversations like this, is if you understand this going in so that you can make healthy purchasing choices in the beginning. Obviously, nothing in life is always permanent, or you can't know every risk that's coming your way. But I think if you use wisdom in the midst of a big purchase, like buying a home and stewarding a home, having this information is so helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just going in eyes wide open with like these could be potential issues down the road. It doesn't need to be something to scare you away from buying a house, but it's
Right.
just it's so much different going in eyes wide open than going in with like, oh, we had no idea, and then we get hit with this $10,000,
Which is a huge thing. I mean, me earning business is obviously nice, but my biggest thing is that you're educated. And so if you don't like the price or you choose to take a more risky option, that's okay. But I'm going to do my due diligence and making sure that you understand that risk that you're taking. And I mean, I have people that call me all the time for questions, and that's fine. I love educating and helping them because they can make the best financial decision for their unit.
I think I've texted and called you about 10 times since using you. God bless.
You got me on the voice texting. I never used to do
It
that.
started.
and now-
It started with this one. She was created for voice
I tell
texting.
people, I'm like, voice memos and voice texting, like, it changes your entire life. I drive all the time. It is so much safer. People can hear my voice. They can hear the way I'm asking the question. Anyway, I even have an inspector that I was going to meet up with, and he's like, I've never done a voice text before. You're the first one. I was like, listen,
It's a little-
your life's about to be changed.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
a little bit of
I'm
fun,
here for
too.
many reasons,
and
and
now
one of
it
them is that.
transcribes it for you too.
Oh, I
which is
know.
so
Now
much
you can
easier.
read it.
well, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes I read it and I'm like, huh? And then I listen to the message and it makes a
tries.
lot of sense. But
I'm like, if I
Yeah.
can't hear it right now, at least I can get a gist of what's being asked, and then
Yeah.
is this urgent?
Yeah,
Is this not
right.
urgent? Are you okay? Oh my gosh.
My apologies.
I want to know, when do we actually file a claim? When is it a benefit? When is it a detriment?
Oh, this is actually such a good question for me personally, because literally
There's no problem.
last night I got rear-ended on I-35. I'm fine. It was not that bad at all, but I mean, I have a little spot on my car. I got her insurance information. It was actually terrifying because all these cars were zooming by.
Oh, no.
And her door was open, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're just
gonna die. Her door's gonna go.
because people are just flying by, and I was like, okay, we're definitely not going to call the police because it's drivable. We're fine. But do I file a claim on that? It's pretty minimal, but
So my first question is, how bad is it? Is it a scuff? Is your bumper torn off?
yeah, we're gonna have to look a little deeper.
Okay.
But I think there was definitely, I think some of it I can just rub off, but there is probably some damage on the bumper.
So claims are tricky, right? Because you buy insurance to protect you from incidents incidents like this, where these things happen. But really, insurance is there for the catastrophic
Moments.
events. Yeah. So also, insurance has changed so much in the past 5 years that something like that, go get it checked out first. First, call me. So my rule of thumb is you call me, you take it somewhere to get an estimate.
Yeah.
We can talk about, obviously, your house is on fire. Yeah, we're going to call. But if you just set off the smoke alarm, don't call me. Like, just, you know what I mean?
Boundaries.
Yes. And it can be hard, especially as if you're a driver or a homeowner, like what does that look like to navigate? So in your case, I would say, if you think you can wipe off part of it, go take it somewhere, see if they can buff it, get an estimate. If the price is going to be around the same amount as your deductible, do not file.
Okay.
Yeah, because what's the effect?
So if, let's say your deductible is $500, this costs her $1,000, you will immediately see that extra $500 they sent you right back on your bill following the renewal.
Right.
So with the way renewals have been and the rate increases, and then you have any type of claim for auto specific, it does not matter if you're at fault. It could be at fault. It could be.
Okay, that is it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it can affect your insurance rates. Now, a deer hitting you may not affect you like if you hit someone, but.
Did anybody watch Gilmore Girls growing up? Because
I
that's
love
what
Gilmore
it just made me
Girls.
think. Okay, I did see Bambi as well. But no, in Gilmore Girls, she gets hit by a deer.
Yeah,
literally.
I remember that.
Sorry, that's what I
Continue.
So I lost my train of thought because now I'm stuck on Gilmore.
You were saying if a deer hits your car.
Oh, if a deer hits you, it does
May
not
not
matter.
affect.
Yeah,
Okay.
it does not matter if you call in to the claims department and don't file a claim, you still filed a claim. It'll just show that a payout is 0. And that will also affect your
you,
rates.
so don't call.
You call your agent directly. Don't have your agent transfer you to the claims department. Walk through it with your agent, have them educate you on what steps you should take moving forward.
Which is why you need a good agent
was
and
gonna
not
say,
just someone
that's
that's going to pass the buck and be like, you know what, I don't have time to deal with you. Call the claims insurance or the claims department.
And when you're dealing with large companies or even not a broker where it's just a servicing center, they're just going to do whatever their SOP is. They're not going to it's very transactional versus taking it on a case-by-case basis.
I just personally, I have called her because we've had, and this will be in future podcasts for sure, but plumbing issues in both of our houses. I've also hit somebody with my car this past year. I've called her so many times to be like, okay, what is your professional opinion in this moment with what's coming, through in our lives? And it's been so helpful. I feel like even though I've had to make a couple of claims, there's a couple of times where we chose not to make the claim, pay out of pocket, figure it out. And I think that helped even this year when we renewed, it wasn't quite as severe as it could have been.
And two, we're not saying don't file a claim. Like if you need it, you need it.
Right.
But know what.
You want to make the most informed decision for what's financially going to have the most impact on you.
And know what could come up, know what could happen, and don't get claim happy and just call for random things. Because at this point too, especially on the homeowner's insurance, carriers won't take you. I actually spoke to someone a couple days ago. She had 2 legitimate claims, a freezing and a roof replacement. She also had 2 random claims that didn't pay out on anything. One, I don't know what it was. It said mysterious disappearance. What? I was like, okay.
Of what?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, interesting. And then
That's a bit terrifying.
yeah, and then she had someone else come out to look at something and called on it. So on claims history, that's 4 claims within 5 years. First one was in 2019, so 2019, 2021, 2021, 2022. Okay. So 4 claims in 5 years. There's only one option for her. The other carriers won't take it.
Ooh, so then you're just
And her current carrier's non-renewing her, which is why I got in contact with her. But yeah, so they're taking really big leaps, and they are really cracking down on their guidelines and who they want as a client. So your claims history, your insurance history is kind of like your resume for
How
the type of client you are.
long does a claim affect you?
7 years.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Reminds me of taxes too, right?
Yeah.
Don't you have to keep those 7 years, something like that?
Even if
What
they're
is
like,
up with the 7-year
I
thing?
don't
Isn't
know.
that bankruptcy too, right?
I don't want to know
crazy.
that.
Okay.
Wild. And that like,
At what level
even
does
if
it
things
affect
they're
you?
like, oh, it's not on my record anymore.
Yeah.
It's on a record. It's there. I mean, it can, depending on what it is, it can affect you pretty drastically. So at-fault accidents, like I said, are going to be one of the worst. Same with a DWI, DUI, towing. Like a lot of times you can get roadside assistance on your policy. I always recommend get the AAA roadside assistance package. It's not affiliated with your insurance. Same price, and now you don't have 10 towing claims on your
Interesting.
insurance.
I would have never even thought as a towing claim would make
It's
a
silly.
huge difference.
But and I wouldn't say it's like astronomical or anything, but it's still
adds
on
up.
there.
Yeah.
And carriers can decline coverage for you because it's listed as a claim.
Wow.
So it's wild.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Also, like house claims, like especially like a lot of people moving from California where they were in a wildfire zone and they've had like claims due to the effects of a wildfire, and it's really hard for them to get insurance here. They're like, well, that wasn't my fault. And I'm like, I get that. I'm just the messenger. But an insurance carrier looks at you as being riskier because you chose to live in a risky area.
Is this
Life choices.
Yeah,
Coming
same
back
apply to
haunt.
flood insurance. Like you, because I know if you're in a flood zone, but you have to pay a whole separate.
It
policy
is
for flood
completely
insurance.
separate.
Okay, but it's not seen the same way as.
I wouldn't
wildfire.
say it's
Okay.
as bad. Yeah, no.
Okay. Because I've had a few clients looking at homes, and I can see on the map. I'm like, it looks like you're in a flood zone, and then you do have to pay additional.
Well, and flood
Beige flag.
zones here are very different from a flood zone in like Louisiana or like on the coast.
Right, for sure.
So location makes a difference state by
Yeah.
state in
Yeah.
the flood zones.
That makes
okay,
sense.
interesting. I would love to know what affects coverage. Like as a homeowner, as an auto owner, how can I best steward what's in front of me to keep costs as low as possible? Because I'm assuming that's house size, location, age, all that. So I would love for you to go into that.
It's a list. It's a whole algorithm
It's
that
a lengthy list.
yeah. I wish
Maybe like top 5 or something.
I wish I had control over some of those things. Credit, obviously insurance history, location, all based by zip code. Claims on your previous, so for homeowners specifically, previous claims and claims on the current house that you're buying. So a lot of times people be like, oh, can I see the loss runs or is there claim losses on this house that my buyer is looking at? Yes or no.
Interesting.
Sometimes there's things that were filed that weren't, and nothing on the seller. Seller could have easily forgotten, but it's not in the seller's disclosure. And I'm like, hey, they had a water loss for 20 grand 2 years ago. And they go and talk about it and
Makes
get
a
it
lot
figured
of
out.
sense. It moves with the house almost
Yes.
when the insurance agency is looking at it.
So the insurance history follows the person. Insurance history of the house they're buying also follows, because if that's a risky structure.
Right.
Type of vehicles range based on statistics of driving patterns, accidents for them. Same with the type of driver. Hate it, but boys will always be more expensive than girls. You're rated as a youthful driver until you're 25,
I
so
feel like females, I'm kind of throwing us under the
we are definitely worse.
under the bus, but I feel like we're worse.
Yeah,
I hit a few curbs.
Interesting.
Oops.
I take up 2 parking
I've
spots.
gone up and over a median.
Just to be safe.
I know. I'm like, I can parallel park, and then I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I don't even think I don't know what I'm on. I'm on
But
a ledge
statistically speaking, that's just what it is.
here.
And
Okay. Interesting.
So, yeah, and then credit is ran, but it does not affect your credit score. A lot of people are afraid that'll affect their loan when they're purchasing a house. It doesn't, but they do check that just to see what your financial
It's a
responsibility
factor.
looks like.
Okay.
There's a whole list.
Yeah, but I think those are
the main things. To be on the look
really
out
good
for.
to know,
Yeah.
and things that they can look for and improve.
Yeah.
Honestly, even when shopping for a house, they have that education, and obviously as realtors, we would have that education as well to look into that.
Another
so that
thing
they can make
too,
a wise decision.
it's called LexisNexis, and it's basically a report of your whole life that is seen on there, whether that's collections, claims. That's what all the carriers use to generate their reports that are ran, to get that history. But you can go in there, you can get your own report. And I mean, there's been people, I should do it myself, honestly. I'm a little curious what they have on me. But you can get it and you can dispute things that, were either logged wrong, like if someone hit a deer, for example, and they put it as an at-fault accident, when really that's a comprehensive claim. So it's still a claim, but it'll definitely help your rates.
Wow, so interesting.
That's great. And what was it called?
LexisNexis.
And you could just go online and look it up? Or is it?
I've gone to the website and the link to dispute and get the paperwork.
Okay.
That's as far as I've gone.
Okay.
But yeah,
Nexus.
it shouldn't be that hard, I wouldn't think.
Okay, so I want to circle back to something you said earlier. You mentioned the light at the end of the tunnel. I know we were throwing out like insurance went up 55%, in a year, and kind of like
we need some hope, Alexa.
I have that too.
Good. I'm a positive Polly, so I'm like, let's focus on is there anything positive happening in the insurance world?
Lots.
There's lots. Okay, tell us a little bit about that.
So obviously, I feel like you have to understand what's going on to understand why we're in the space that we are.
Right.
But good news, yes, light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, back in the summer, we were thinking we were really in the thick of it early and mid 2023. Now things are starting to level out. Things are starting to stabilize, as I said. But with that, for carriers, that means you're not going to see as rigorous of rates. For example, DFW specific, the average homeowner's insurance policy is $3,500. And that was for a new homeowner, that's just how it was.
Yeah.
Lots over that. So that's huge. Now we're starting to see that just a little bit less. Also, carriers some who had suspended business are now coming back into the market. Texas as a whole, also different areas. Some carriers who lost their profitability ratings with reinsurance, meaning they were going under, they've now gained that back and they're back in the market. So yeah, it's light at the end of the tunnel. I would still say probably another 6 to 12 months before we really feel it. And for someone like myself, my policies don't renew until next November. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to see any type of
relief per se until then.
Until then. So, and even then, I think it's going to be a lot more of just being stabilized. Now everyone's kind of back in the green. They're stabilized. They're in a good financial position. We're not going to see prices as cheap as they were 5 years ago, but at least you don't have to expect, my insurance is going to double every year.
Right.
I would
it was
love
correcting.
to not expect that.
Yeah. Another thing too, a lot of people, I mean, honestly, even myself, I'm like, insurance companies make so much money on all these policies. They make about 8 cents on the dollar. So when you're looking at it,
Interesting.
Yeah, and that's good.
They actually have small margins from what I learned.
Yeah. So when you're looking back, insurance carriers were only making maybe 3 cents on the dollar or a negative over the past few years, which is why we've seen such drastic changes.
Yeah.
But now they're in the green and everything's leveling out. Everything is stabilizing. So it's a lot to look forward to and just a sense of relief and breath when it comes to your finances over these next few years, hopefully. So
that's awesome.
I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love to take
We would
a
all
breath.
love that. It's been rough. We had a global pandemic,
Just 2020
global
from now, it's like here we are.
Gosh.
I'm on eggshells.
Oh my gosh. Well, Alexa, we are so glad you were here with us today. Yes. Sadly, due to time, we have to wrap, but I know I learned things today.
Yeah, I did too. This was so informative. Thank you so much. You're a wealth of knowledge. You're such a good communicator.
How can
appreciate you.
people get in contact with you?
Call
What is
me,
the best
beep
way?
me.
Beep me on my pager? Or like,
No, you'll have it in the description, right? But my email or my phone number, I mean, you can call or text me there at any time.
Hey, Alexa.
There you go.
yeah, you can just shout it out. See if there's a response.
Yell it into the universe.
But those are the best ways. I don't have a business account, but like Facebook, it's Alexa Hawthorne. Need to change my last name. Still haven't done that. Or on
day.
Time.
It
takes
does.
The things guys will never have to do.
Right?
I don't even want to get
Like,
And then we
that'll be
moved.
another podcast.
I
Yes.
was like, you don't understand. I'd have to change my license for my name.
cards.
Then because we moved.
Social,
that's so
it's
much
a lot.
things.
It's so much.
So it expires in a couple of years. I'll do it then.
well, people can reach
Sounds
out to
perfect.
you in those ways,
Yes.
though. Yeah.
Email, call me, Facebook me, Instagram. It's Alexa Hawthorne.
Are you a little TikToker
So-
yet, or you haven't jumped on that train?
You know, I really wanted.
I feel like you
I
could
thought
be
I'd
like
be
a
famous
TikTok
on Vine,
dancer.
but
Oh,
it didn't work.
On Vine?
Then I tried TikTok.
Remember Vine?
I'm not famous there either.
I'm going down a rabbit trail. This is bad.
I do not have a MySpace, unfortunately.
Does anyone? Is
I don't know, my
MySpace
husband
still a
looked it
thing?
up. the
Didn't
other
Tom
day.
die? That Tom guy, didn't he die? Did he not die?
I don't know.
You can still log in.
I don't
My
even know who
husband
Tom
looked up
is.
his.
Still log in?
He has like
Who's
his
his top
best
eight?
friend
Who's
person.
his top eight?
Yeah, the top 8. I don't know, but
Oh my gosh.
yeah, he like tried to get in the other day.
Wow.
It's like, oh my gosh.
Oh
So
my goodness.
Well, thank you
Well, there
so
you go.
much.
Thank you
We
guys.
so appreciate you.
Yes.
You're
I'm very
incredible.
grateful to be here and to hang out with y'all, but also just for all the wisdom you guys provide too. So more than you know, outside of the industry, you guys are great people. So
You're the best.
Thank
You're the
you.
best.
Awesome.
cool. That's a wrap.
I'm gonna go look at my car and make sure.
And
make sure I
go
don't
look
have
at
any
it.
big dents in there. You know.